Look, I get that, and particularly in this time. And listen, the age of Trump, everything has gotten personal and angry, and it's a morality play. We're so pulled apart. But look, one of the differences that I get really frustrated with the left, they are willing to use government power to impose their worldview on everybody and to punish anyone who dares dissent. This is true in the censorship world. This is true. It is, at the end of the day, the left are statists. They believe in government power. I'm someone who cares deeply about the Constitution and Bill of Rights and free speech, and that means the right of people who disagree profoundly with me to speak and engage. And I agree with John Stuart Mill. The cure for bad speech is more speech. So don't silence views you disagree with. Engage with them on the merits and actually have, ideally, a civil, decent, respectful conversation. And you're right, immediately starting with, if every conversation begins with "you're a Klansman," that sort of dampens the next step of the conversation.
Yeah, but you don't get much further than that. Yeah, I got to show you. I have a copy of On Liberty in my nightstand, so I'm with you on that.
All right, I'm going to tell you something very funny. So you and I, before the show, were talking about the Houston Rockets, and I'm a diehard Houston Rockets fan. One of the stranger things I own, when I think I was in college, and I was on an airplane, and Hakeem Olajuwon
I already love this story, wherever you're going.
He was sitting up in first class. I was back in the cattle car. He was up. It was a time when I guess NBA players didn't fly private everywhere, but he was sitting there.
Right.
And I was sort of starstruck. And so I went up and asked for his autograph, but the only thing I had is I was reading John Stuart Mill's On Liberty.
That's incredible.
And I had a red pen that I was underlining it with. So I've got it home. I'm not sure where it is, but I have a Hakeem Olajuwon, number 34, signed on the title page of John Stuart Mill's On Liberty.
You literally have my whole life in a book, basically. That's absolutely incredible. I told you that 95 Rockets team is my favorite team of all time. All right, so wait a second. So let's push a little further on this. So because the left wants to use state power in a way that, generally speaking, the right doesn't want to, or at least that you don't want to, if we're to go on this dystopian future idea, are you worried that if these guys really take power, I mean, they're going to start jailing political opponents. They are going to we know they've already used the IRS to do all sorts of crazy things. I mean, these are things that are sort of conspiracy theories, and then suddenly, at this point, nothing feels like a conspiracy theory.
But it's all justified there's a self-righteousness to it. We're right, anyone who disagrees is evil. Therefore, anything is justified to suppress the evil. You see that with cancel culture, where people get driven out of the public discourse. Look, when I was in college, I was a college debater. Yes, I was one of the cool kids. But so I was in college. I was the chairman of the conservative group in the debate society, and one of my closest friends was the head of the liberal group. And we would have arguments about free enterprise and socialism, like what works, what actually benefits humanity. And actually, that question's an important question. Too often people start with the assumption the other side wants humanity to suffer. If we start with the premise, okay, most people of goodwill would like people to be happier and more well-off and more prosperous. We start with that premise. Then we can have a conversation about, okay, what systems produce more prosperity, more opportunity? It's a couple of years ago, I did 3 CNN town hall debates with Bernie Sanders.
Yep.
And they were 90 minutes long. And Bernie, look, to Bernie's credit, he's an unabashed socialist. I disagree with him, but he's honest. And we can have a conversation about, socialism. I think if you look across the world, it doesn't work. It's produced misery, poverty, suffering, death. My family fled Cuba. And so I'm more than happy to take the American free enterprise system, or as the left derisively calls it, capitalism, and put it up next to communism or socialism or any dictatorship they've implemented in any country on earth, and people are better off, they have more opportunity, and in particular, there's the mobility. You know, you look at the dystopian worlds, one of the elements of it is everyone is frozen in their place.
Mm-hmm.
Socialist countries, communist countries, there are rich people. They're powerful people. What you don't see is new rich people. What you don't see, you know, when my dad in 1957 was a teenage kid from Cuba, couldn't speak English, washing dishes, making 50 cents an hour. Why did he come to America? Because this is a country where you could be a teenage kid washing dishes and climb that socioeconomic ladder. And
kind of worked out for his kid.
If someone had told my father
Yeah.
in 1957 that 50 years in the future his son would be in the Senate, that teenage immigrant could never have believed it. And that, but if we can have conversations, then we can say, all right, what works, what doesn't work. The left is afraid to have those conversations. Their ideas don't work. All right, there's a joke I tell sometimes, which is, how many radical leftists does it take to screw in a light bulb?
How many?
That's not funny! It's like, come on, guys, just relax. Like, lighten up. And you know, I was talking about in college when we were debating, we'd go, you know, he'd call me a fascist, I'd call him a communist, and then we could get a beer.
Yeah.
Like, just, you know, not all of life has to be, I must destroy my enemy, and there's a lot of that right now.
But do you think there's a fundamental reason for that? I think there actually is, that lefties now, and not always, and I actually want to ask you about what it used to be like when there was a sort of sane Democratic Party, but that there's a fundamental reason for the anger and the outrage and the perpetual craziness, which is they believe government is everything, and that, you know this as a senator, it's a pretty freaking messy, probably often miserable game that you have to play to be a politician in America or probably anywhere. And that because their whole worldview is through politics, as opposed to a religious or some other spiritual worldview, well, of course you're going to be endlessly miserable. Do you think I'm ballparking something there?
So I do, and it's, you know, it's interesting. I was talking the other night to a gentleman. He and his wife came from Cuba, Cuba, fled under Castro, and he was talking about, he said, you know, Ted, you talk about the Constitution quite a bit. And he said, I think there are a lot of people like me who came from countries where the Constitution was meaningless, and they don't necessarily understand why that matters. And they're a little bit skeptical of why should the Constitution make a difference? And I was agreeing with him in that we need to explain that more. Government power, the history of humanity is largely a history of government oppressing the people. Now, you need some government. I'm not an anarchist.
Yep.
You need government to protect your fundamental rights, to life, to liberty, to property. John Locke wrote about the fundamental natural rights. You need government to impose rule of law, and we see countries that don't have that are disasters. But the more power government has, the less liberty you have. Mm-hmm. And Jefferson had a great way of putting it. He described the Constitution as chains to bind the mischief of government.
Yeah,
you look at
that's
the First
pretty
Amendment.
Profound. Yeah,
you know, free speech is not about silencing those who disagree with you. Religious liberty, it's not about forcing everyone to practice your faith. It's about saying, look, it's up to you what faith you practice or none at all. That's that right of conscience that you get to decide, that it's not government that comes in. You know, you just had, all right, you know, you talked about abortion. You and I may disagree on abortion, but you just had Joe Biden a week ago say if he's elected, he's coming after the little sisters of the poor.
No, I'm completely against that, by the way. I mean, I've done videos on it, yeah.
I mean, that is an extreme view. You literally have politicians saying, those damn Catholic nuns, I'm going to go after them and force them to pay for abortion-inducing drugs. And these are nuns who've taken vows of poverty and are helping the poor and the sick and the needy. And government now for years has been persecuting them because they must conform. And it's just, look, I think being libertarian and live and let live, giving people, like, respecting diversity solves a lot of the problems we have in the country.
So speaking of diversity then,
Yeah.
do you ever feel, because you mentioned your father and your family's story, because you're a Republican, because you're on the right, that in many ways the people who love to scream about diversity all day long, they've sort of stolen that from you. I know you don't wave it as a victim card, but your own personal family story, and because you look white, so to speak, and because you're on the right, you're just a white guy. Congratulations.
Look, on social media, it is amazing. You look at some of the angry protesters, who sometimes are angry rich white guys, who are telling everyone, look, the riots that occurred following the horrific killing of George Floyd, many of the neighborhoods that were burned down were African American neighborhoods. Some of the most poignant and powerful videos were of residents there crying, going, okay, you just burned my only grocery store. African American small business owners whose stores were destroyed, and destroyed by self-entitled, often middle or upper class kids. Look, I grew up, my mom is Irish and Italian, from a working class family. She was the first person to ever go to college. My dad, as I said, was an immigrant with nothing. When I was in high school, my parents went bankrupt. We had a small business. It was the mid-'80s, oil crash. We lost everything. We lost our home. We lost everything. So I went to college at age 17. My parents couldn't pay any tuition. I was on my own at 17. And I'm grateful for a country that let a kid. Now, my parents gave me a home with love and nurturing, and so in that respect, I was rich. I was rich in terms of having a mom and dad who loved me and encouraged me. But, I was on my own, and that's the beauty of this country. Yeah. And I think the single biggest lie in all of politics is that Republicans are the party of the rich and Democrats are the party of the poor.